So just to give Dipcatcher a formal introduction, you are the co-founder of Maximus token, which is a token which tokenizes a hex stake, essentially. Hex stake and also the Hedron component of that. Do you want to give us a quick rundown for anyone in the chat who doesn't or isn't familiar with that token?
Yeah. So a couple months ago, we rolled out Maxi, and what Maxi did was we pooled about 294 million hex into a single max length stake, and we issued a token that was backed by it. And it was all fully trustless, no admin keys, and so people joined by minting 1 Maxi per 1 hex, contributed to the pool, and then on May 1st, we kicked off this 15-year stake, and the Maximus, the Maxi stake, it started out as shark number 16. Now it's shark number 15. So it's one of the largest individual stakes in hex. The only ones that are larger are ones that were from like the very early stage, from pretty much like the God Whale. So it's one of the largest stakes. There's about 5,500 holders of Maxi. So the benefits of doing this stake pooling is that one, you earn more hex than you would on your own from the bonuses. Two, and probably the major benefit and the most important one, is the gas fee savings. So users, no individual users is expected to pay the gas to end the stake, and for the longer stakes, that can make a pretty big impact. And so users, have 99.9% gas savings, because the gas for just minting and redeeming the coin is almost nothing. And then also, it keeps a lot of money in the hex economy, because every time someone's paying gas to end their stake, that's money that they're either having to sell hex for the ETH to pay, or they're just otherwise not holding hex. So it actually can keep millions of dollars in the hex economy, just from pooling stakes into one stake. And so we rolled that one out in April of this year, and so right after that, a lot of people are asking, when's the next pool, asking for different types of pools. And so we're getting ready to roll out a new suite of pools called the Perpetuals. And so what these are repeating stakes. So Maxi was like a one and done stake. But these... And
just before you go into the other pools, Maxi is something that you can redeem for the rewards at the end of the stake period. So you can exchange that Maxi for your percentage of that Maxi pool at the end of the 15 years. And that will include your original contribution of hex plus the accumulated interest hex in terms of hex in that time. And also, you guys hard-coded Hedron into there as well, didn't you?
Yeah. So in Maxi, you redeem your portion of the hex and the Hedron. And the Hedron and the Maxi treasury, that locked in like the 5x bonus just from the launch, because Hedron launched and then we launched. So that one's going to be one of the largest Hedron outside of kind of like the OG whales that from before Big Payday. Maxi is going to be one of the largest holders of the Hedron, and so that treasury is building up hex and Hedron every day. And so the market is pricing in what that future value is going to be. And so
because you can buy Maxi if you want on the open market. It's available, isn't it?
Yeah. It's Maxi is a fully liquid ERC20 token. There's a liquidity pool that last I looked, I think like 700,000 of liquidity in the V3 pool, and it trade and yesterday there was like $400,000 of trading volume. So it's liquid enough. It's a long term. It's like a lot. People hold it as an alternative to staking on their own, but also there's a lot of just trading and speculation on it, because it's just the market trying to really figure out how to value it, where they're including the future value but maybe discounting to the present. And so it's been pretty exciting to see the just how the price action's been taking place. And right now, it got as high as like 2-to-1 versus the hex. I think now it's like at 1.8 something. But But yeah, it's been
1.93 as we speak on Dex Screener.
Oh wow. Wow,
1.93.
1.8 when I went to bed last night. But yeah,
That's crazy.
And I think, because part of it is the market just like pricing in the earnings, but also with our upcoming launches, there's a benefit to holding Maxi. So that's probably, that's one of the factors that may be being reflected in the price. But yeah, so I mean, Maxi was very, very popular, and I think it really opened people's minds to this concept of pooling their hex stakes. And it was right around the time where kind of Hedron had with the HSIs had introduced the the HSIs where you could mint your NFT and then you could sell your NFT. And probably the main distinct difference between getting liquidity from an HSI versus getting liquidity through Maxi is that in Maxi it's fully fungible, so you can trade a small portion of it. You don't need to sell all of it. You can just sell a tiny portion.
You're selling a percentage of the pool, basically. When you sell a Maxi token, you're selling your percentage of that Maxi pool of that stake. Whereas with the HSI, you're selling the stake itself. So and that could go for whatever price. Whereas this is going to be the market price.
Oh,
anything else cool happened?
That's a boomer joke.
Oh yes, it is.
That was a really nice party.
Nice.
I think it was organized by Balliet Brand. At least he covered it. I'm not sure if he was also the organizer. Seen that picture? Yeah, on the left. Second on the left. Balliet Brand, the man.
I think I saw the most tasteless joke ever posted by Alain Fizame.
In the middle, testnet T-shirt. Very nice.
It's beautiful.
Wait, what? Testnet T-shirt? Where did you see that?
Look at the two redheaded grandkids in the front. Those are the ones you're not gonna know in 3 more years when you're rich. Who are you? I don't remember. It's your nephew, Michael.
Bake and bake.
I don't know you.
I like the skull in the hex colors. That's cool.
Did you see Alan Fizame's tasteless humor here? Say Papa's steaks are prime candidates for R. Kelly, 15 years old.
Ouch.
But
That's about the most tasteless thing I've ever seen on stream.
I don't get it.
But can you pee on them?
If it's tasteless, why are you focusing on it?
Because I'm drawn to tastelessness.
Good point.
Oh, but speaking of tastelessness,
I saw it.
But this is actually real.
big pee versus big pee time.
I think it's fake.
No, I think he's just got like a camera in his pocket or some shit.
Car keys.
Is
that real?
Umbrella.
I don't know. Whatever it is, it's pretty impressive though.
Haters will say it's an umbrella in case it's too hot.
Oh yeah, that's a parasol. After all, look at his headgear.
What people had as a game theory, as a strategy for hex stakes or being in liquid and so on, and how has it changed? How has your strategy, for example, adopted over time? What do you think was the better game theory, the better strategy to do? Staying all liquid, for example. There were whales that stayed all liquid. They had the possibility to sell. They got the gains. But now they missed out on everything that was given to them in Hedron and in Icosa and in PLSD and whatever other airdrop that was out there.
That's a good thing, because some of those whales dumped on us because they wanted to buy some supercars, So they don't deserve Hedron or Icosa. They can buy in and sell the supercars and buy in.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't have even done anything less than 15 years if I knew about Hedron in advance. Because why would you ever want to have to sell hex if you know that you're getting Hedron and you're getting Icosa on top of that, and more more other airdrops over the next 10, 15 years? Why would you ever want to
because
make less
occasionally-
than 15-year stakes?
Because
Because we didn't know.
occasionally you may want to buy a sandwich or something in the real world. You may want to shave off something and then kick out the rest, harvest the Hedron from it, stake the Hedron, let that grow Icosa while you go buy your damn cheese sandwich. At some point, you're going to want to buy a damn cheese sandwich, Titus Bomb. Go monthly, go long and strong, pace yourself, and interact with the contract over and over and over again. Remain up to it, and so that you don't have any chance of emergency end staking anytime in the future, like this recent bonehead did. I say pace yourself. Pace yourself.
Did we
Interact
discuss
with
that last time?
the community. Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
I mean,
we
I
did,
feel
we did,
strongly.
we
I
did.
think
I remember.
that's a strategy that I came. I mean, I was enlightened to early on in the game, and I'm so happy that I'm doing this every month, not every day like some boneheads did at the very beginning of this whole thing when they thought I'm going to do 1 hex every day for the rest of my life. No, you're going to die with gas. But every month, we can do it.
So are
But
you saying your strategy hasn't changed with the introduction of the new tokens
No.
and ecosystem?
No,
Or it
because
has
I committed to it. I finished it when these new tokens actually arrived. Completed the whole staking ladder, and said, "I'm done. That's great. There's nothing I can do about it. And that's what I'm going to do." I tried it out, and it's been going just fine ever since. Especially with Hedron being able to be harvested from the greater, longer stakes at will whenever you want to. You can always harvest them, go cut the grass, take the clippings, throw them into the staking pool for Hedron, make yourself some Icosa, rinse and repeat. Hasn't affected me a damn bit in that respect. Now, if you only got Hedron when you unstaked, that would change the game, and I would have said, damn, I missed out on a great strategy. I don't have any liquid, blah, blah, blah. But I love the fact that I'm staked out. I regularly interact with the smart contract. I don't feel like I'm without access to it, even though I haven't sold any yet. I still have the opportunity to make a decision of how far I want to restake every month. And it's great. I absolutely love it.
Let me just kind of give you a little bit of tour here.
Okay.
At the very top of this page, you'll see 2 buttons. The one on the left is the Texan contract, so you can actually see the code if you'd like. And then on the right is the donation phase details, and it has a timer in it. So this is where you'd go if you want to know more about donation phase, you want to know how it works, and you want to link out, let's say, fiat donations of cash. You can go right to the Texas Nationalist Movement website, or you can get the address for donating directly to their wallet in USDC. But I think that the key things to note are drill into the audit, look at our white paper, and then understand, what are these tokenomics? Because what I hope to get out to everyone today is what the details of the tokenomics really are. Because I think that a lot of people make assumptions about what Texan token is, and they don't really actually know how it works. Even people that have read into it don't understand. And so a deep dive, I think, would be really helpful. At the top right, though, we've got this stake function. I've connected my wallet previously, but if you click the stake function, the D app is right here. So I don't have any current stakes. If I click the stake button and I say, all right, I want to put in a certain number of Texan tokens and I want to stake them, I can choose to either, I could do it by year. So in this case, 22 years. There's a chart that is created and shows you exactly how many basically Texan tokens are reserved for you when you stake. And so what's unique about this endowment contract is that it reserves all of the potential interest or yield ahead of time. And so what's really, I think, very exciting about this is that we have added a scrape function, the ability for you to, without penalty, pull your interest off the table if you'd like. And so the D app is here. It's working on the test net. You can use Test Pulse and you can get Texan, right? You can swap on PulseX for Texan, and you can try out the D app. And so these things are all available to you right now, completed. And so, yeah, that enables us to literally flip a switch, once the dust settles on the PulseChain.
Yeah. By the way, I mean, I've looked over the site and well done. I mean, this D app is so simple to use, and like for me, like even getting people that don't understand a lot of this, I think this D app makes it pretty straightforward and simple.
Yeah, it's very simple. And once you have a stake set, so if I wanted to start this stake, it would create the stake and I'd have to, put things together. And I'm not going to do it right now just because I don't want to dox myself or my wallet or anything. But it'll keep track of your stakes. There's unlimited stakes. Your minimum stake day, I think, is 2 days. The maximum stake length is 22 years. You can do as many stakes as you want. X-Ray Vision's actually created a scraping ladder, in different strategies. But at the end of the day, the yield in all of this is actually better than compounding. And I'll show you what I mean by that when we look at the other chart.
Okay. White paper, we definitely, I really want to go into the tokenomics because I know that's something that so many people want to know about.
Yep. All right. So obviously it's going to be on the PulseChain. It's a PRC20. But there is interest yield that is baked in for those who stake. And so because our supply is determined ahead of time, there's 100 trillion tokens, but 97% of tokens are locked in the contract with no keys. So there's not like an OA and you're worried that this OA might dump on your head. They're locked. There are no keys to it. And so that is what we call a proof of stake mine. So we're essentially giving a gift to the Texan community and saying, if you want access to these tokens, you have to stake. The base rate is a 5% base rate. And so annually, you'd receive 5%. So there are people, and the reason it's 5% is this is the core with nonprofit organizations with endowments. They want at minimum 5% of their money. Well, if you're willing to wait longer, you can get up to 236% in year 22, or a maximum of 1,881% if you were the whole 22 years. And the average over that time is 87%. And so this is a very attractive incentive for people to stake. But what makes it unique is that it's deflationary because all penalties, like in Hex, penalties are distributed to the staker class. Mm-hmm. And so some go to the OA and then others go to the staking class. And in this scenario, when someone emergency end stakes and loses their potential interest, it stays burned. Because when you make a stake, you burn your tokens and all of your potential interest. And then you mint back that yield when you either scrape or when you finish off your full stake. Okay. So it's deflationary. And then there's 3% of the token allocation is for the donors who give, the partners, and the team. And so a very small amount of the total supply is reserved. But one of the things that's really exciting about this is that the partners and the team are required to stake for 22 years. So literally, as far as circulating supply, it's going to be about 1% of the total supply. And that's good. There's no admin keys. It's immutable. Once it's out, it's out. We can't touch it. And it is also security audited by CertiK, and you can review that certification. So this is the percentage yield curve. I want people to see how the Texan token actually works, because there was some misunderstanding even with those who looked into the tokenomics. So you'll notice that on year one, it's 5%. That's always the base rate. But if you were to do a 22-year stake, it actually adds these all together. And so year one, you get 5%. When year two's over, you have 5 plus 6, right? That's 11. Plus 8, plus 11, plus 15, plus 20. So if you were to hold for 22 years, and let's say, I was thinking about my a grandkid that's not born. Let's say I took $100 and I said, I'm going to put it into Texan. I'm going to forget about it. I'm going to stake it for 22 years, and I'm not going to get out of it till the end. You'd have 1,881% total yield on that $100. These things, these add together. This is each of the years separately. But as you hold and don't scrape, because if you scrape, it goes back to 0, day one, right? So you get 5%. So some people would look at this and say, hey, I'm cool with 5%. I'm very cool with that. I'll scrape every single month for cash flow. And that's what a endowment does. But in this case, if you were to hold, we wanted to provide a huge incentive. So if you go to actually, I can go to it. This next slide, I took it basically, what if it was all equal, right? And so I said this is a dollar figure. If I had $1,000 and the price never changed, there was no price appreciation. It was a static price. This $100, year one, you'd get an extra $50. But if you held this for 22 years, your $1,000 would be $18,810. Okay, so people don't realize how significant this is to hold, because the majority of this yield comes after 15 years, but it's huge, right? It's 1,881% with no price appreciation. And so it's a, it's a unique perspective, but it also negates, like if you were to try to take your stake and you were going to scrape and then recompound it, you couldn't do as good as this. And that was intentional, because we didn't want people, gaming the system. We just wanted to give them more incentive to hold. And so the real, I think the exciting thing about this is that these percentages add up as you hold. Okay, so it ends up being 1,881. The average, if you were to take all 22 years and divide them by the total, it's 87% annual average return. So because this is a set supply, and because it's deflationary, there is a moment in time in the future when there is no more staking, because the entire mine is mined out, like Bitcoin, right? Once everything's mined out, there's no more mining. The same thing is true, but it's proof of stake. And so in about 50 to 100 years, which is plenty of time, there's a point in which you will not be able to stake for any more yield. So there's a bit of a kind of a gold mine with a finite amount of resources, and you go in and you kind of stake your claim. And that's the whole tokenomics, and that's the psychology of the token and how we put this together.
Every time somebody asks, like, what is your profession, this old hex meme comes to mind, and I couldn't play it last time because we swooped away too far from the topic, but here you go.
He wanted to do this for the entire week. I'm a page.
Notice the Bitcoin hexes. It's so old.
Yeah, this is old.
Ahoo! Ahoo! Oh boy, we came a long time since then. A very long time.
That's like one of the earliest memes. Commercially pure titanium washers are like as rare as hen's teeth. So give it up. If you're gonna get some scrap commercially pure titanium, that's one thing. You can get grade 1 through 4 commercially pure titanium. Do not get an alloy. Get the plate. Get them cut. Business card size. Points can be had. Or you can get fender washers made of 316 stainless. Make sure though, if you get the bolt and nut to fasten them together, which you should, that you always get the nut one grade lower. One grade lower, because otherwise you'll get the fusing action over time, which is called galling. You want to make sure that the nut and bolt are different grades of stainless. This guy's making them by hand, see?
Yeah.
And that's some really thick titanium. That looks like 2 milli. That's not thin stuff. Maybe more.
Shiny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I found it very hard to get titanium here. I even called different manufacturers, but none of them worked with titanium. So it was hard to try to get scrap.
So this is going above and beyond though, right? Like this is like the really ultimate, if you really want it, kind of deal. And you can, and these are custom made. So from what I understand, he's making them so you can order them at some point.
No,
his shop's already running.
No, he says only for himself and his friends for now, but maybe.
Okay, for
it's
now.
a lot of work. We're talking like, because when he's cutting it, titanium has a lot of particles are spread far apart. So when you cut it, it sparks, like serious spark damage can happen. You can cause fires. When you put it into an angle grinder or something, you will catch something on fire. So he's saying it's a big pain in the ass to make these, and he only made them for his friends. Lots of people said, I want to get some, you got to sell them. But he's like, I don't even know how you make this cost effective with all that hand tooling that he had to do, right? These things would be like $150 a piece. And
Whoa, that much? Okay, maybe it's not that effective.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get back on that.
think
But
about
he
it,
has
he's like
he has a
hand
lot
doing it.
already. So I thought because of
He has a
the
lot of friends.
amount, more than me apparently.
Apparently. Hey, if you had a talent
hard
like,
to
or
get
if you had
more
a
than
talent at all, but if you had a talent like that, you'd have lots of friends.
Even for people that say, okay, I'm just putting a little bit and that's not worth it, and etc. But that little bit can transform itself into a lot.
That's right.
And not only that, but
You'd be surprised.
exactly. And when you start saving, you start by creating something that's secure, and then you save into it, right? So you don't start a house by the roof, right? You need a good foundation. And people say, okay, but these $80 could be 8,000 now after a header attacks. Okay, but if you lose those $80,000 or whatever, that's not the best play. And there was someone that forgot this passphrase even.
Yes.
And one of them was actually able to remember it by just trying different combinations. But that's not a very good solution long term.
Right.
And even if you have a good memory, you can have car accident, you can have a heart attack. Something might happen to you that might not allow you to remember them anymore, or even your next of kin, in case the worst thing happens. So that's not the best solution.
Sandy Beach is a ledger gal. And kudos to you, Sandy
And
Beach.
Cryptomatic too.
Why is it compromising it? It's because you
Yes.
need less amounts, or you have less amount of entropy.
Correct.
No, not entropy.
Yes, it
less.
is.
Yeah,
It
There-
is.
yeah, you
there
have
are
less
less combinations
guesses.
256 bits of
You have,
entropy.
you
Yes.
have exactly. You have less guesses that you have to take to actually
It's easier
crack
to
your
brute
code.
force.
Could
Yeah,
be brute force. Yeah.
exactly.
Precisely.
And in the Model T, you can actually choose the number of shares you want to do in the Shemu
Yeah.
secret sharing system.
It has
You
that
can have
native
3,
thing.
5, 7, whatever deep you want to go. I
Yeah,
never
but
tried with others yet.
I think two out of three is best. I think because as you get bigger, you've got all these decoys. You actually have to collect more of the parts.
I think a bigger one would make sense if you're like a company that deals in cryptocurrency, and then you probably need more shares and more people each holding each portion of the share, and etc. But
Right.
yeah, for a normal person, the 3 is more than enough.
Right. And as you get into multi-sig options, you get deeper down the rabbit hole, and each one of them can have a Shamir secret sharing for each of the seeds.
Yeah.
And now you go freaking crazy. You know, the math, and Elmire and I have explored this before, the math gets so crazy against being able to crack the seed that it will blow your brain, because it's like you can't even count to that amount. If I told you octillions, it's beyond that. It's like an octillion of an octillion possibility. It's
like
up to
10 to
24
the power
to
of
246.
10 to the power of 70 something.
Just as a
And it can
comparison,
be
a trillion seconds. A trillion seconds is 32,000 years.
And you would have to add, even with a script, you couldn't load them in to any kind of wallet and then try them out online within your lifetime. It's impossible.
People don't know who they're talking to most of the time. Like, I mean, look, I'm not saying that we're anybody special, but in the community, could at least some of the people that have been around a while have a little fucking respect? You know, I don't know. The respect is a lost art in this fucking generation, I suppose. I have, this internet generation, people don't show respect because you don't have to be in front of them. Usually when you're in front of people, it's a different story. I've found, when back in the days when we used to be in front of each other, it was a little different,
Yeah, I mean,
Sounds
sounds like Vegas is going to be wild.
I hope so.
Well,
I
actually,
hope
it's
so.
probably going to be
We can
mild.
get real, right?
It's going to be mild because that's what happens, right?
People aren't going to keep the same internet
Right.
energy when you meet in
Oh,
person.
hell no,
Everyone's
it's
gonna be
completely
extra
different.
friendly. You know how that goes.
It's fucking so different.
But you're
So,
right, Archie.
like-
I feel like I'm the bridge between the two Hex generations. You got like the OGs, which is you guys, which like you have to pay your homage to. But then you got like the newcomers, which is like the PulseChain sacrifice arriver type of group. And there's not that many in the middle. I'm one of them in the middle where it's like, okay, I know I'm not an OG, but I also know I'm not new. But I like to have fun with both sides, and I see both sides. But it's like, yeah, you definitely have to, you pay your respects to the people that paved the way with the streaming and stuff like this now, and the Twitter game and everything. So I do see both sides, but I definitely feel like the OGs do deserve respect. But I do have fun with you guys on Twitter. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I like the trolls. So.
And Jenkins, do you know who really paved the way? Do you know who really did it?
Richard Hart?
No, Bitcoin. So show some respect, RG3, all right?
He's gonna start that again.
Bitcoin paved the way.
And if it weren't
crypto.
Chris, if it weren't for Blockbuster, we'd never have a highest of stakes.
I think, Johnny, you all offer very fair criticisms and a good perspective. I think macro-wise, I think you're incorrect, personally. But I think the considerations you bring to the table about Hedron, the value of Hex at the 90% dip, I think it's all correct. My personal view on it is just a little different. And I think we can contribute that a little bit to is I'm not a Hex OG, right? Like I personally see Hedron as a way for me to grab a market share relative to other people that I wouldn't be able to get personally buying Hex, even on this 90% dip. And that's just because I've been in Hedron from the very beginning. And I've seen the value proposition of it, the way in which it's synergistic with Hex and that it pumps Hex ultimately. And so when I think about where I'm deploying capital and where my humbly admitted few dollars would go the longest way, the proportion in which I dollar cost average into Hedron over time versus Hex ended up on the Hedron side. But that's because it's my personal situation and based on my personal education, right? Yeah.
But that does support the point that I was talking about earlier, that you have a different option. If there was only Hex, then you would be buying Hex.
Absolutely.
But instead, you're putting a certain portion of your allocation directly in the Hedron instead, because you see that as the potential larger gains. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Because it's a derivative of a T-share. And the one thing when Alex put out wrappable T-shares, which is what I talked to the captain about way big payday before I offered Hexo fucking software, talked to Motley. Now he talks about B shares and wrappable utility. If you haven't been a Hexo G, the Hedron wrapping of the steam engine, which is the caboose, the T-share is the steam engine. If you can get the steam engine, fantastic. But you should probably get a little bit of the caboose because the caboose will move faster than the other.
See, so the thing is, if you think about it, the idea of Hedron is you stake your Hex, you get free Hedron. Right? So why would you buy Hedron instead if you're getting it for free for buying the other thing? So the theory behind that is great.
But you can
because you would think you would buy Hex for that, but you just pointed out that
there's a triple down. So Alex moves complexly, which I like. You can use your Hedron to buy HSI stakes, which are mostly 15-year stakes. Take that, sacrifice it back into the pool to get a CASA, which gives you both. And then from that goes back to option. And then you can buy that again with your Hedron. So you're rolling and twinning these HSI.
What I'm telling you is the stakes are most likely going to cost you more than if you would have just bought Hex today and staked it. That is where the problem is.
I don't disagree with you.
They're going to, just like they sold at 10 cents expecting to get a penny Hex, and now they're buying back in at 5 cents, right? Or they'll end up buying back in at 20 cents. That's where the trading kind of how it goes, right? Everybody thinks they're going to get a better deal. They dump their whole bag because they can't just hold, some of it. they got to dump everything, right? And then they think they're going to get the lower price. And a lot of these new people come in now. We've got new influencers now that I was watching trading being promoted. What you do is you sell at the top and you buy back 5x your bag. No, what you do is you end up selling the bottom and buying back in and having half the bag. That's generally what happens. Okay, you can try to play that game if you want, but I'm going to tell you how it works. You sell the bottom, you end up paying twice as much for half the bag. That's how it always goes. The chain analysis don't lie. Silver did a whole thing of this where people think they're going to get a deal. And this, I think I'm going to get a deal thing is you don't know the deal is there till you walk into the green candle. That's when you know you were in a deal. It's hindsight, right?